When we talk about human intelligence, we are often just talking about processing speed. If you imagine the brain as a computer, an IQ score is simply a measure of how fast the hardware can handle a new task. It is a technical specification, not a measure of a person's ultimate value. This chart shows how those different speeds are distributed across all of humanity. It's called a bell curve, and it maps out where every one of us sits on the spectrum of cognitive power. But here is the thing about hardware. The fastest processor on the market isn't always the one that gets the job done. Every level on this curve has its own specific advantages and its own unique ways of crashing. On the far left, where scores fall below 70, life requires a lot of support. Using the computer metaphor, it's like trying to run a heavy, modern video game on a machine from 30 years ago. The hardware is working as hard as it can, but complex abstract logic can cause the system to freeze. However, a slower processor doesn't mean a lack of humanity. Many people in this range show a depth of emotional connection and a genuine joy for life that can put the world's most brilliant minds to shame. Moving into the 70 to 84 range, we find a group that is often overlooked. These individuals are fully functional and independent. They hold jobs, drive cars, and raise families, but they often find that traditional classrooms move just a little too fast for them. These are the people who often find their stride in the real world rather than in textbooks. They frequently excel in hands-on trades, athletics, or creative arts, where physical intuition and social street smarts matter more than raw logic. Their struggle in school is rarely a lack of potential. It is more often a failure of a rigid education system that only knows how to measure one very specific type of learning. Then we have the middle of the curve, the home for 68. If your score falls between 85 and 114, you are statistically normal, which is actually a very high-performing place to be. This level of hardware handles the demands of daily life with ease. You can pick up new skills with reasonable effort and navigate the complexities of most professional environments without feeling overwhelmed. Our collective baseline is also shifting. Researchers have found that average IQ scores have been rising slowly for decades, a trend known as the Flynn effect. This means the average person you see in this vintage footage from a century ago was operating at a lower cognitive baseline than the average person walking down the street today. On the right side of the curve, things speed up significantly. Scores between 115 and 144 belong to the fast processors, the people who ace exams with minimal study and quickly dominate complex fields like engineering or medicine. Their distinct advantage is a high level of intellectual self-awareness. They are able to step back and watch their own minds at work, which allows them to quickly spot gaps in their own knowledge or recognize when they've made a logic error. But high-speed hardware comes with its own glitches. Because these individuals can see every possible consequence and complication of a single choice, they often suffer from paralyzing overthinking and a perfectionism that makes it hard to take any action at all. There is also the trap of overconfidence. Being the smartest person in the room can trick you into thinking you are the smartest person in every room, leading to massive mistakes that a more humble mind would have avoided. At the very edge of the curve, the top 0.1%, we find the geniuses. These are the supercomputers of the human race, capable of connecting ideas across completely different fields to see truths that are invisible to everyone else. These minds build entirely new frameworks for understanding reality. They don't just find answers, they change the way we ask the questions. But history shows us that this level of brilliance is often a lonely place to live. Many of the world's greatest minds have dealt with severe social isolation and a feeling of deep alienation from the rest of the world. When your mind operates on a frequency that almost no one else can tune into, raw intellectual power can feel less like a gift and more like a barrier between you and other people. So if intelligence is just processing speed, why does it feel like a number on a test matters so much? In reality, a fast processor is just a tool. It doesn't determine what you actually build with it. This is the gap between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence is knowing how the world works. Wisdom is knowing how to live in it. Think back to those high-speed glitches, the geniuses frozen by overthinking or isolated by their own complexity. This is why the world isn't run by the smartest people alone. It requires traits that a processor speed can't measure: persistence, empathy, and creativity. A standard average processor that consistently shows up, listens to others, and refuses to quit will cover more ground than a genius who is too afraid of making a mistake to start. Your value isn't found in how fast you think, but in how you use that mind to connect with the world around you. That willingness to show up every day is a form of genius that no standardized test will ever capture.